Hello, I'm Deacon Mark Odell from St. Spiridon Orthodox Church in Loveland, Colorado. We are continuing our series which explores the parable of the Good Samaritan. Our hope is that by learning more about the parable, we might learn more about our new project, Christ's Call to Love, being a Good Samaritan. Today, the Blessed Theophylact will be instructing us on one aspect of the combined story of the Good Samaritan. Our teacher was an 11th century hierarch of great learning and piety. He served as a royal tutor, preacher, and assistant to the patriarch. His commentaries on the Gospels were completed in Orchard, the capital of the Kingdom of Bulgaria, where he served as chief hierarch. We will hear his wisdom to the lawyer's response to Christ's question of what is written in the law. As you might recall, the lawyer answered, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself." The Blessed Theophylact begins, "See how precisely the law commands us to love God. Man is more perfect than all other created things, being in some respect like all created things, but in addition having something exceptional. For example, there is part of man that is like a stone, for he has hair and nails which are unfeeling like a stone. And he is also in part like a plant, in that he grows and is nourished and engenders his own kind, just as plants do. He is in part like the irrational animals, in that he has emotions and becomes angry and desires. But, unlike all other animals, he is also in part like God, in that he has a mind. Therefore, the law teaches that man must give each and every part of himself entirely to God and must expend all the forces of his life in loving God. When the law says, "with all thy heart," it speaks of that force of human life that is purely physical and organic. When the law says, "with all thy soul," it speaks of that force of human life which feels. When the law says, "with all thy mind," it speaks of that power which is unique to man, the intellect. "With all thy strength" means that we must use all these powers to pull our stubborn selves to God. We must harness even the organic force of our soul to the love of Christ. How? With strength and not faint-heartedly. And we must also subject with strength the power of our senses to the love of Christ. And the power of our rational soul, this too we must subject with all our strength to the love of Christ. So then, we must give all of ourselves to God, and we must subject our biological powers, our sensory powers, and our intellectual powers to the love of God. And the Blessed Theophylact concludes his remarks by addressing the second great commandment, loving thy neighbor as thyself. He states, "The law was not yet able to teach perfection on account of the spiritual immaturity of its listeners. Therefore, the law urged a man only to love his neighbor as himself. But Christ taught man to love one's neighbor more than oneself. For he says, 'Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.'" The Blessed Theophylact indeed gives us a powerful perspective into our parable. Let me finish with a reminder of our kickoff retreat on October 30th at St. Catherine's Greek Orthodox Church in Greenwood Village. Father Paul Abernathy will be our speaker. The retreat starts at 9 and will end by 3. There is no cost, so please come. Information about the retreat and how to register will follow at the end of the video. So we'll see you all on October 30th, and thank you.